My name is Rihards, and if you would have asked me a year ago that I am here telling you this story, I would have laughed at you. I've always been a pretty rational, conservative guy. Not the sort of man who flies under the knife or spits things out. I like to think things through, take the data and live life with deliberation and wisdom. But sitting here now, reasonable, just doesn't always make you so hard to beat. And us who trust in second chances, we are exactly those who are being tricked. I trusted my marriage for more than 2 decades. Elina and I had been together when we were kids and dreamers. We made our own life from zero. We weren't perfect, obviously, but I figured we were good. I thought we were partners. She seemed like me, the one who would always be there. That faith came crashing down 3 months ago. It all began in very small increments, those you might put out as just ordinary life stuff. She was more outgoing, less absorbed in what we were saying. I would have sat on the couch with her, but she would be on her phone. I'd say, "Look what you're looking at," and she'd say, "Scrolling." That was it. Never did I even think to doubt it. Why would I? I trusted her. We had been dating for more than 20 years. But things got worse. She started going out more, saying she needed me time, or some time. I'm not the kind of man who would chase after a guy who says he needs room, so I was grateful. People need to breathe sometimes. I get that. Soon, though, she had a place to be when I moved around. Pedicures, just-in-time running, dates with her friends, that's what she told me. And every time I'd ask her where she was going, she'd turn upset and feel like I was choking her to death just for saying the word. And people do look at each other when they lie. Their eyes blink in just this manner, as if looking around the room for some answer that they don't know yet. The first time I viewed that expression in Elina's eyes was 5 months ago before the wheels dropped. I said to her one night, "You have been absent a lot lately. Is everything okay with you? Are you happy?" She sent me on my way with a strained smile. "I am just stressed, Rihards. It has been so exhausting and just my tired all the time. Do not read into it. You are overthinking." Her words were sensible, but that look in her eyes, it stuck with me. It's so in my brain a doubt that I could not wash away. And the more I reflected on it, the more little things I noticed. Now, her phone was always on silent. She left it on the table face down. Now it was always face down. She'd see messages and swipe them off as though I wasn't invited to see them. And then there was the laughter. At night I'd hear her giggling in the kitchen while drinking water, or in the bathroom while checking emails. I know my wife's laugh. I know the giggle she brings to colleagues. I know the laugh she gives me. But this was neither. This was a different joke, a light, sexy one I hadn't heard in years. So I sat on it for a while. I told myself I was dreaming. I thought to myself I was just feeling lazy. Because after all, she hadn't been bad, hadn't she? But intuition does not pass away, no matter how much you try to drown it out. It all came crashing down one night when she called me and said she had a late meeting and was coming home around 10 p.m. I worked the night shift, so I didn't see her anyway. The next morning, though, I saw it all in plain sight in her location history on her phone. She had been in Salna Street, not in her office. I couldn't remember the address, but I knew it wasn't a store. It was a house. She'd been there 2 hours. I kept my cool when I came for her. I didn't want her to screw me. "Elina, where were you last night?" "I don't know, it was at the office." I checked the location history. Her face turned black, like I had pulled the wire from her brain. "Why are you following me, Rihards? That is creepy. Do you not believe me anymore?" "I was with a friend." "Which friend?" I said, my voice quiet and unflinching. "Give me a name." She screeched, One work friend." "I don't have to say all the things, do I?" Her hands were shaking. She tried to be strong, but I could see it. I knew she was lying. They don't realize the extent of what is revealed to their body when they want to mask something. I didn't fuck her that night, though. I wanted her to be okay. I didn't want her to feel she had been let off the hook. I began collecting evidence the next day. I went through her past week's location records, trips to the same house, dates at odd hours while she was supposed to be go shopping. She'd been to that house at least 10 times in the past month. I began to screenshot it all so that I had evidence if she accidentally erased it. Then I found the photo. She had been out to the beach with friends one weekend. She took a selfie by the water, smiling like she didn't mind. Nothing special, until I saw the shadow in her glasses. It was a man I didn't know. I zoomed in, took a screenshot, and saved. So I challenged her and brought the photo. "Who's that in your sunglasses reflection, Elina?" Her face went pale. That is a guy passing." Her voice blew out. "Someone walking by? And who's also in every photo that day?" I flicked through her beach photos, making her look at the same man in a series of photographs. "Do you want to make that justification again, Elina?" That was when she crumbled. The cries began, and the apologizes came. "It was a mistake, Rihards. That was only once, I promise. It did not mean anything, but she underestimated me. I had already gone through her tracker. I knew she'd been going to his place for months. She had found her second life with this guy when I worked 12-hour shifts to keep the house running. You mean I'm dumb, Elina? Oh man, I said, my voice cracking. You don't think I can do elementary mathematics? You have been dating him for 5 months. Don't stand there and say it was only once. She was searching all over for an exit, but there was no escape. All I had to do was see the evidence. I could have screamed, could have thrown things, but I didn't. I just sat there, letting her take the silence. Rihards, please, she sobbed. I was lonely, okay? You never rest, and I was the only one around. What I was hearing sounded incredulous. Lonely? I offered to hang out with you. I asked if you were okay. I even asked if you were open about it, but you said you only wanted me. You lied to my face. I went out that night and drove for hours, my head whirling. 2 decades of marriage gone. All the times, all the feelings, all the fantasies we had of the future, it was all a lie. She still spoke into my head. You are paranoid, Rihards. You're dreaming. I wasn't. I had been right all along. When I got home, she was still on the couch, her eyes bleeding. She didn't hear me say anything. I just went to bed. After that encounter, something in me changed. No longer was I the naive, belief-hungry husband who swallowed every excuse. No, I became a man on a mission. I had been living months feeling like the enemy, that I was paranoid, insecure, and authoritative. But now I knew better. I had evidence, and even if she wouldn't confess, I would accept it. Next week, I listened to everything more closely. Her routine, her habits, her excuses, all of that. So I was the detective in my own house. Every night I stood by as she scrolled on her phone with that half smile. Whenever she said she had more work to do, I listened. She thought I was sitting on the couch watching TV, but I was looking at her. That's when I saw the shift in her usage of her phone. She began placing it on the table, face up. Before this, her phone was always out there, sometimes showing a message preview for me to view. But now, face down. Every single time. And she began to carry it everywhere she went, to the bathroom, the kitchen, even to check the mail. I knew that move. People don't guard something unless they have something to hide. I played it cool though. No more accusations. No more confrontations. She'd made her pitch for me as the asshole, overbearing husband enough already, and I was not giving her any more firepower. Instead, I sat still and collected data, and if she felt like I was turning it down, so be it. A few days later, I did something strange. The air around me was different. Not in the distant sense that it had been, but calculated. She started being extra nice. Preparing dinner, asking how I was, complimenting me on things she hadn't spoken about in years. Oh, Rihards, you look cute in that shirt, she would smile. And that may sound like a sign for most, but it wasn't for me. Guilt makes people overcompensate. Too little, too late. She dropped her phone on the kitchen counter one night when she was taking a shower. I stared at it, racing. Every feeling in me said, see it. Look now. But I hesitated. I didn't want to be the guy, the husband who sniffs. But then I thought about how many times she had made me feel like I was going crazy. I had my hands sway, and before I could question myself, I'd had her phone opened. Messages. Deleted. Every single one. She'd always had the long swoop with her friends, her family, our children, I knew. But now, clean. Empty. Even not a random meme or message sent out. Nobody ever deletes everything unless they have something secret. I logged into her apps, Facebook, Instagram, Messenger. All clean. Too clean. Then I recalled something I read on the internet. And even if you delete the messages in Messenger, if you open the new message tab, it will recommend whom you have talked to the most. And guess who was the very top of her recommendations? Him. One name I hadn't heard before, Arturs. So I stared at it a bit. My heart was beating like it was going to explode. It was no longer mere theory. This was not just paranoia. I had a name. Arturs. I took a photo of it with my phone and threw hers on the counter as if nothing had happened. But I wasn't. Not anymore. I'd seen his name and I had known she'd talked to him. That she'd wiped everything made me believe she was doing something wrong. I had had enough of trusting her. The next day I started digging. I found Arturs on social media. I found him. His wall was littered with shirtless photos, gym selfies, and quotes like "grind now, shine later." I felt sick. This guy, that's the one she left our marriage for? One guy taking gym selfies as though he's 18. I went to look at his pictures, and there she was. Elina. Not in the main images, of course, but in the likes. Her name on just about every photo he posted in the past 6 months. I was at the table that night, dead. I had all the evidence. I had the location history. I had the deleted messages. I had his name. But what did I do with it? A part of me wanted to go up to her there and then, but I'd seen what happened last time. And then she would gaslight me again. You are crazy, Rihards. You are imagining things. I did not want to hear those words ever again. So I waited. I played dumb. I wondered what she'd do. I had to know the full extent of it before I decided. I did not want to feel that later I'd made a wrong decision. She told me about a week later that she had to stay late at work. She said the cliched, big deadline project. I'm going home around 9 or 10. My heart didn't even pound this time. I was calm. Numb, but calm. All right, I saved you some dinner, I said. When she was gone, I went looking for her. She reached out quickly to give her hand. She was in the same house I'd passed by, Arturs. I just stood there, looking at the screen. I don't know what I wanted to feel, but it wasn't this. I felt nothing. No fury, no sadness, just nothing. It was as if my mind let go of what my heart fought for. This is real. It is happening. She is cheating on you. I called my best friend Tomas and told him everything. Tomas knows me from our childhood, and so does Elina. He heard me sulkily and said, "Now you know what you got to do, Rihards. You've been friends. It is just that you don't want to confront it yet." He was right. I did know. But it's one thing to know it and another to do something about it. Leave her when you're not saying leave her. People will tell you to go away, easily, if they are not the one who had a 20-year relationship with you. I took her on another night. But this time it was different. I was not angry. I was not yelling. I was cold, calm, precise. "Elina, I know Arturs," I said, looking her square in the eyes. Her whole face changed. She looked over her shoulder as if looking for an escape hatch. But she did not run. She tried again to flip it on me. "Rihards, what the fuck are you talking about? Arturs? Who is that?" I do not know anyone called Arturs. I took out my phone and showed her the screenshot. Her face awoke white, then red. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out of it. And for the first time in a long time, she said nothing. "You told me you were not." I kept my voice steady. "For months. You beat me to my head, made me feel crazed, and for what? Him? A man who takes selfies like he is a reality TV model?" My apologies," she finally said in a low voice. "It is not what you think, Rihards." I laughed. Actually laughed. "It's what I see. You know how I know? Because I have proof. And you are apologetic only because you got caught." I put on my coat and walked to the door. I don't know why, but I needed air. I had to get out of that house. She rushed me, grabbing my arm. "Wait. Please, Rihards. We can fix this. I love you." I turned around to her, looked her in the eyes, and told her, "No, you don't. You love the way you just could not lie to me. You love that I put you in my place. And you don't love me." And I left. I wish I could say I felt better, that I was calm when I left. But it did not. It just left me empty. 20 years of love gone. I ripped my arm off leaving Elina that night. It's so common for people to tell you leaving a cheater makes you strong, free, and you will be proud of yourself. But that is not what it is. Not at all. It's true, I wasn't filled. Completely hollow. It was as if I had been carrying around this thing for so long. This bag of suspicion, doubt, and anger. And when I finally put it down, I did not feel any lighter. I just felt nothing. 20 years of memories gone. 2 decades of thinking I was with a girl, and all the time feeling I was on my own. I drove around for hours that night. No destination. No music. It was me in the street and the sound of the motor. I once pulled into a gas station parking lot and stood there for an hour staring out the window. Cars came and went. Individuals topped up their tanks and got on with their lives. Meanwhile, I was stuck. Just stuck. I had the impression the whole world was going and me, and everybody else was still. My phone beeped in the back seat. It was her. "Please come back. We can talk." I messed up, Rihards. I was stupid. I'll say anything to fix it. I love you. Don't waste your life due to one error. I looked at the text for hours. It would have been so simple to come back. To tell her, okay, we can go back. To pretend it didn't exist. Let's face it, some part of me wanted to. It is not easy to leave someone you loved for 20 years. It's worse if they didn't always love you the same way. But I knew better. I also knew if I did it again, I'd never trust her again. I'd check her phone once a week, not knowing where she was every night she came home late. I would become a person I never really wanted to be. A maniacal freak, always on the lookout for signs of deceit. No, I was not that man. I did not answer her messages. I did not call. I just stood there and let them sit on the screen like poison I would never swallow. The next few weeks, leaving Elina was one thing. It was a different story to figure out how to be without her. I got out of the house for a while and lived with my high school friend Tomas. He had a spare room and, let's face it, I needed to talk to somebody. Tomas has never been easy on me. No hedging, no everything will be okay stuff. Just the truth. You were a good boy, Rihards. He said to me one night while we sat in his garage downing beers. But you have to know that it's going to be painful for a long time. He was right. I slept every morning and didn't feel much better. Rather, I was torn open from the inside. I'd remember her face in every photograph, hear her laugh in the silences, smell her perfume where she hadn't gone. She was all over and none of the above. I thought about the house. Our house. It was still mine logically, but it wasn't mine anymore. I did not want to go back there. All the rooms would speak of her. The kitchen where she used to hum while preparing breakfast. The living room where we'd curl up on Friday evenings. Even the bedroom, especially the bedroom. It hurt my chest just to imagine myself lying in that bed. Then one day I awoke and opened my phone, just like every other morning. Elina missed 2 calls. She had left a voicemail. Hey Rihards, it's me. I miss you. I know I don't have a right to ask, but can we talk please? Please. I love you. I stared at the phone, deleted the message. That's what they don't tell you about love. It doesn't all go away at once. You don't go into bed one morning and stop loving someone. No, love dies slow. It dies piece by piece, lie by lie, bribe by bribe, until one day you realize you have nothing left. I didn't know how close yet, but I was. Running into her. I saw her 2 weeks after I'd left. Not by choice. I was out grocery shopping and fucking around, and she was just there in the produce section like anyone else. She never saw me, so I was free to decide. I wanted to run away, but then another side of me, the side that had been silent all along, told me to hold my head up. So I went right up to her. Elina. She spun around, eyes opened as though she'd seen a ghost. Rihards. I didn't think I'd come. She spoke weakly, her eyes already drenched. Crocodile tears, I thought. No, I am sure you didn't, I said, laying down my arms. But here I am. She looked at me for a while as if looking for the words. I miss you, she finally said, with a faint, almost whispering voice. I think about you all the time, Rihards. I am sorry for everything. I messed up, but it doesn't have to be this way. We can fix it. I waited for her words to settle, then I spoke back. No, Elina. You can fix it. But I don't fix stuff you dropped. Her face shattered like I had kicked her. She opened her mouth, but I was off. I did not look back. Moving on. Moving on was not an easy thing to do, but it was necessary. I stayed at Tomas for another month while I decided what to do next. I did not want to go back home, but I did not want to do it to her either. No way. I saw a lawyer, had my paperwork ready, and filed for divorce. It was like I had been picked up by a rock, but I had also lost a part of myself. I started going to the gym. Not to get retaliation, not to glow up, or win the breakup, but because I had something to do with my body that didn't consist of lying around replaying all of my old errors. Lifting weights was simple. There were no sex acts in the gym. No games. Just effort and results. I liked that. I found someone a couple of weeks into my new routine. Her name was Lima. We did nothing particularly deep, but it was nice to have someone to talk to. She was obliging, funny, and she never asked me about my history. She just let me be me. One night she made a comment that I remembered. Are you ever going to forgive her? She asked. So I thought about it. I do not know, I confessed. I don't hate her, if you can call it that. I just don't believe she deserves any more of my quiet. Lima smiled. Looks like you are on your way to forgive her already, Rihards. Maybe she was right. But forgiveness doesn't re-enter. It is not that you just pretend it didn't happen. Forgiveness is about releasing yourself, not them. The last message. I haven't seen Elina in 3 months, and I haven't seen her since the day I met her at the supermarket. She texts me every now and again. They always begin the same. I miss you. I know I messed up. Please let me explain. But I never respond. I do not have to. She can tell herself. She's okay with what she chose. To my part, I am over-explanatory. I'm over wondering if my heart knows, and over pretending that love will heal what had been lost. Some are angrier for weeks, months, even years after being duped. And maybe that is okay. Perhaps you don't get over anger. Maybe it is something you need to process. For me, I am not mad anymore. I am free. And honestly, that's better than any apology could ever be.